Okay, so now let's talk about the formula to make the offer with. Um, we have cost involved that all your fancy reality TV shows tend to omit. They'll show you what they paid and they'll show you what it costs to repair them, and the difference, of course, in their mind is profit. Nothing could be further from the truth, okay? There's a lot of cost involved that you better take in consideration if you're going to renovate a property, because you're going to pay it whether you thought about it or not. So we're going to go down the list here, and I've signed 10% to the cost, but that does not include interest and it does not include real estate commission. And I'm using 30% as a total cost because I'm using 20% of that as net profit. Basically, I'm using a formula that builds in at least a 20% of the ARV as net profit to make sure that I get paid to determine my MAO, my maximum allowable offer. So let's start at the top. The after repaired value is going to be what it is after you check your comps like we just did. The repair cost is the number that you come up with after you add up all your majors and then add the miscellaneous like we just did. And then you can figure that your closing cost, your share of the closing cost, is about 1% of the ARV, give or take, to buy. But that does not include any down payments or any of the cost of the house now. That's just closing costs. And your holding cost is going to be about another 1% of the ARV, give or take. That depends a lot on where you live, because your holding cost includes, of course, maintenance and utilities, but also includes taxes and insurance. Taxes can be very high or not. Some communities, your taxes, when the house sits there for 6 months, and we're using a 6-month holding period from the time you buy to the time you sell and close. It may not take that long, but please don't underestimate the amount of time it's going to take. If you've not renovated houses before, then you haven't taken into consideration today's market. Your first job is actually going to be to get a contractor to the place to even give you an estimate. That's going to take a while. And then it's going to take a while to get that contractor on the job after they give you a bid, and that's assuming that you can agree on the bid, don't have to go out and do it all over again with another contractor. And then the contractor's actually got to do the job. And you can figure that at least about $10,000 worth of work per week. And so if it needs 40 grand in work, it's going to take them a month. In reality, that's going to be 6 weeks. I already know it'll take them 6 weeks if they tell me it's 4 weeks. It's just the way it goes. And that's after they get to the job, and after you get an estimate, and then after they can get started. Because even when you agree upon an estimate, they're not going to come over the next day and start. Finish up what they're doing first. This stuff takes time. Now you get it all renovated. Now you got to get it sold. Okay, if you're going to sell it yourself, you got to start marketing it and screening people out. All right, now you find a buyer. Or if a realtor sells it for you, now they find the buyer. Now you got to get the buyer qualified to get them a loan. That takes a month, at minimum of a month. And when the market is hot like it is, it could be an easy 2 months before that buyer gets qualified. Voila, next thing you know, you're 6 months into this deal. So if you're under the impression that you're going to be in and out of this house in 2 months or even 3 months, you better get a new impression, because that just ain't going to happen in the rehab business. It takes time. It takes time. And you have no choice because you have no control over a lot of those things. So back to the cost. Holding cost, 1% may not even cover it, depending on how high the taxes are. Remember, the taxes are accruing. Even though you're not writing a check and they come out of your sales proceeds, they're still accruing the whole time that house is sitting there being renovated. And it doesn't include interest if you're using private money. Sales cost, I got 3%. It does not include realtors. And that, it might seem high to you, but you wait till you see all those costs you're going to pay as the seller when you sell a house. And okay, if it doesn't come to 3%, I can guarantee you that the difference will be eaten up in either holding costs or some of the other costs on here. And that's without a realtor now. And then I got my acceptable profit is 20%. Guys, there's no way you should renovate a house and not net a minimum of 20% of the ARV. I won't do it for that. I ain't touching it for that. I want to make more than that. In fact, I'm not touching the house to renovate it if I can't net at least 50,000 bucks. And remember, I'm doing it on the lower priced houses. I can net 50,000 bucks and have many times on a $150,000 house, much less a $300,000 house. So I want minimum 20% of the profit. And I'm telling you right now, I want more than that. And then I got a hedge factor of 5%. That's a Murphy factor. That's a something went wrong factor. And Murphy absolutely has been on every project I've ever done. For example, what if the repairs are more than you thought? Or what if one of these other costs are more than you thought? Here's the big one. What if you have to sell it for more than what you thought? 5% can go away like that. Okay, so you better leave that Murphy factor in there. Because, and remember now, this does not include real estate commissions and or interest. So my 30% formula does not even include those two. You keep that in mind when we're figuring Mayo. If you look on the next page, we'll do the formula for Mayo. And incidentally, the Mayo only applies to cash deals. The terms business has nothing to do with Mayo. Ignore Mayo when we're buying on terms, only when we're paying cash. So the formula is very simple. ARV times 70% minus repairs equals Mayo. $200,000 house times 70% is 140 minus 25 in repairs, the Mayo is 115. And you might be saying, well, golly, who's going to sell me a house for 115 that's worth 200,000? The answer is nobody, I hope, because you're paying too much for it. But keep in mind, these 25 in repairs, to the rest of the world, that looks like $50,000. This is an ugly house. So if you can't buy it below Mayo, and look what it says right below it, never pay Mayo. I won't pay Mayo. If I pay Mayo and I renovate it, I still got commission, I still got interest, and gosh knows what Murphy's going to do to me. And I already know if I pay Mayo, I take out all of those, I'm not even going to net anywhere near 20%. This is the kind of stuff they don't show you on those TV reality shows. All right? You got all these other costs in here. I'm going to pay way below Mayo, or I have no interest in buying the house. And yes, you can buy them way below Mayo if you get them from FSBOs, not out of the MLS. And in fact, I'm not even going to pay, the rule is don't pay any more than $10,000 below Mayo. I'm not even paying that. Guys, if you can't buy the property and get a deal on it, I would suggest you don't buy it, period. Do you know you can spend the rest of your life doing all the pretty houses you want and never have to do an ugly house if you don't want to? I prefer you do. You need to learn the whole business. You need to learn how to handle contractors. It's kind of neat to make something ugly into something pretty. And if you're out here marketing for pretty houses, you're going to find some ugly ones anyway. Can't find all pretty without finding ugly, and vice versa. I look at rehabs as a bonus, not as a business. Okay, Jay looks at them as a business. All right, works for him. Me, I look at them as a bonus. I'd rather do 5 pretty house deals to his 1 rehab deal, and that means 5 times the wealth. All right, I will allow you, if your ARV is above 300,000, to use 80% of ARV, not 70. So ARV times 80% minus repairs equals Mayo, because you got a bigger dollar spread to protect you. The smaller price the property, the smaller dollars you got, so that percentages can get you in trouble. No more than 80%. Remember, that's 80% minus repairs. Yesterday I told you you could pay 80%, but I also told you the house has to be in excellent shape and don't need any repairs, or I'm not paying 80%. My goal is to put it right back on the market. Now, if I take that and let's say I'm buying the house and I pay 80% minus repairs, and I pay that for cash, you realize I'm paying Mayo. I'm not paying Mayo. Okay, make sure you understand that. Mayo is just a threshold by which you better not cross. But if you approach that threshold, you're in danger, danger, danger. We do not pay Mayo. And besides, why would I pay 80% minus repairs and then have to go do the repairs and take all that time and absorb more cost when I can go out and buy them all day long for 80% of the ARV in excellent condition? It makes no sense. So what it comes down to is the more I have to pay and the more grief, the more I want to make. All right. Next page. So what do you pay, Ron? The answer is it depends. And it does depend. The more repairs it needs, the less percentage of ARV you should pay. Okay? Got a house here worth 200. Got a house here worth 200. This one needs 20 repairs. This one needs 40 in repairs. All right? Now, the Mayo formula will automatically adjust down the one that needs 40 to $20,000 less. However, why should I spend twice as much over here, take twice as long, and take twice the risk for the same amount of profit I owe over here? It doesn't make any sense. The bigger the repair job, the more profit I want to make. The longer it takes. Don't forget those taxes that are accruing and the interest that's accruing and all of that stuff along the way. The longer you own the property, the less money you're going to make when you're rehabbing and retailing them out. So that's why I like the really ugly ones. Because the uglier they are, the further below R if I can buy them. And I'm going to say it again. If I can't get a good deal on a junker, I don't want any deal, and that automatically makes it a good deal. Better for you to have a no deal than a bad deal. If you pay too much and you do everything perfectly thereafter, you can still lose money. If you buy it right and you screw up everything, you can still make money. So you better pay heed to my formulas if you're going to go out and be firing all cash offers at houses, or you're going to have to go to school and learn it the hard way. Guess how I learned it? The hard way. A lot of stupid mistakes. The nicer the neighborhood, the closer to Mayo. And I'm going to tell you right now, once you start getting above the median, where you live, you're going to have a harder and harder and harder time buying properties at a price you want to pay, because the bigger the demand for them. And you probably already know the hot school districts wherever you live. You can forget about buying houses for cash in the hot school districts, because they're going to be gone. The owner-occupant's going to buy them. You can't compete with the owner-occupants. They're going to pay a lot more than you'll pay. And now you got the stupid investors out there that think that ought to be where you buy as well. That is not where the deals are. The deals are below that market, and they're definitely not in the hot school districts. So the nicer the neighborhood, the more I got to pay for it. So why should I go there? Because the more I got to pay for it, the less money I make. I want to do business in the neighborhoods I don't want to live in, and so do you. If you want to live in the neighborhood you're renovating a house in, you're probably in too high a price neighborhood. Remember, we're catering to first or last time home buyers. It's somebody's dream home you're rebuilding, not yours. If it's your dream home, you're in way too high a price area. Or else your dreams need to be upscaled, one of the two. The more the supply, the lower the offer, sorta. Used to be we had a big supply and reasonable amount of competition, but today we got a huge competition. We got a decent supply, but we have a lot more competition, so that makes the offers higher if we're going in the MLS. Less competition, the lower the offer. This is true. This is why I want you to be dealing with FSBOs. You have a lot less competition. There ain't 15, 20 investors chasing the FSBOs because they don't know exist until they do something to get the FSBOs to call them, like we discussed earlier. The easier they are to find, the more they're going to cost you. And then there's your personal objectives and your exit plan and your own business plan. And then there's your willingness to work harder to get at the best deals. If you want the good deals, you got to implement a marketing plan. That doesn't mean it's going to require your time and energy, but you got to implement it and make sure that it stays working and monitor the results and fix what's broke, and maybe constantly be adding something new if you don't think you're getting enough deals. But you got to get a few things that are working before you start worrying about adding something new. In other words, in marketing, we call that thing the control. If we have a control piece that's working, we don't stop it to test something else. We keep it going while testing something else and always trying to beat the control. All right, same for you in your business.